have a briefing in English, followed by a Q&A session. Questions in English will be answered in English, and likewise, question in Khmer will be answered in Khmer. ASEAN Foreign Ministers Retreat is the first major meeting of the year that set the tone of ASEAN aspiration and work plan for the whole year 2022. The AMM retreat was convened in a hybrid format with participation of 6 foreign ministers in person and 3 others through video conference. The 3 other ministers are Mr. of Brunei, Thailand, and Vietnam. Myanmar decided not to send any representative to the AMM retreat, but Myanmar did attend the senior official meeting through video conference. I have to say that Vietnam Foreign Minister came in person, but he was tested positive and has to stay in his room, but he attended the meeting online. The good thing is that we have finally had the ball rolling for ASEAN process under Cambodia's chairmanship 2022. After 2 years of meeting, mostly online due to the pandemic, we managed to hold the retreat largely in physical meeting format. I have to say that a face-to-face meeting is more constructive and productive on issues that are sensitive and important to our region. All of us share this sentiment. This is a trying period for all of us, not just in terms of meetings, but also in terms of the situation in the region. There is a growing concern over increased geopolitical tension, worsening existing situations, and urgency to recover socio-economically from the COVID-19 impacts. However, we could not have Myanmar represented at the foreign ministerial retreat, owing to the fact that some of our colleagues request to keep the format of the recent ASEAN summit until progresses are seen in the implementation of the 5-point consensus. Cambodia was compelled to request Myanmar to send a non-political representative at this AMM retreat. A request that, of course, Myanmar said it cannot accept. Nevertheless, we have reaffirmed that Myanmar is very much an integral part of ASEAN family of 10, while its SOM leader actively participated in the senior officials meeting, including one that was held prior to the AMM retreat. At the same time, we cannot neglect the numerous outstanding works that ASEAN need to do in all the 3 community pillars, and we cannot afford to allow the Myanmar issue to hold ASEAN community building hostage. So what has been discussed during the whole morning meeting? As practice, Cambodia briefed the meeting on ASEAN priority and deliverables during Cambodia chairmanship under the theme ASEAN Act addressing challenges together, which drove firm support from the ASEAN family. We discussed at great length on the follow-up of the 38th and 39th ASEAN Summit and related summit, and discussed ways to advance ASEAN community building efforts toward the realization of the ASEAN Community Vision 2025, especially via the strengthening of ASEAN centrality, unity, and external engagement based on the ASEAN way. Concurrently, we underline the importance of structuring the region's long-term outlook through the development of ASEAN Community Vision post-2025. To facilitate the region's recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, we emphasize the importance of full and effective implementation of the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework through a whole-of-community approach in a coherent, inclusive, and target-oriented manner. We also took the opportunity to commend the operationalization of the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund in procuring safe and quality vaccines for the people of ASEAN, and stress that the timely implementation of the ASEAN Travel Corridor Arrangement Framework would facilitate cross-border movement and resuscitate economic activity with due consideration for public health and safety. We emphasize the importance of strengthening ASEAN awareness and identity, including by utilizing the narrative or ASEAN identity to deepen the regional sense of belonging, particularly through initiatives on education, youth, sport, and culture. We reaffirm the importance of deepening ASEAN economic integration, strengthening intra-ASEAN trade and investment, and supply chain connectivity to enhance our region competitiveness, connectedness, and resilience as outlined within the ASEAN Economic Blueprint 2025. On this note, my colleague and I were encouraged by the entry into force of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement on the 1st of January 2022, and reiterate our commitment to ensure the full and effective implementation of the agreement to enhance ASEAN attractiveness for trade, investment, and global supply chain. We discussed the need to undertake tangible cooperation between ASEAN and the wider region within the framework of the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific on the 4 key areas of cooperation, namely maritime cooperation, connectivity, the UN Sustainable Development Goal 2030, and economic cooperation, as well as other areas of cooperation. We discussed Cambodia's 2 proposals to host the 2nd ASEAN Global Dialogue and the theme post-COVID-19 comprehensive recovery, and the 2nd ASEAN Women Leaders Summit in this year under the theme Building More Sustainable, Inclusive, and Resilient Entrepreneurship in ASEAN. We also deliberate on the concept paper on strengthening ASEAN capacity and institutional effectiveness. And the meeting has also adopted Indonesia concept paper on mainstreaming 4 priority areas of the ASEAN outlook on Indo-Pacific. We also agreed to finalize by the end of this year the following plan of action. East Asia Summit Plan of Action to implement the Phnom Penh Declaration on East Asia Summit Development Initiative 2023-2027, and the APT Cooperation Work Plan 2023-2027. To further support the achievement of these endeavors, we underscored the importance of narrowing the development gap through the IAI Work Plan 4, 2021-2025, and enhancing regional connectivity through the Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity 2025 in conjunction with the Connecting the Connectivities approach. We note that the growing number of requests to accede to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia reflect ASEAN rising prominence including UNCLOS. On development in Korean Peninsula, we agree that all concerned parties should resume peaceful dialogue and continue working constructively toward the achievement of peace and stability in a denuclearized Korean Peninsula. We also reiterate our commitment to full implementation of all relevant United Nations Security Council resolution. Lastly, the Foreign Minister discussed the recent development in Myanmar and continue to express concern over the situation in the country, including reports of fatalities and violence. We call on the Myanmar authorities to take concrete action to expedite full implementation of the 5-point consensus, and we urge all parties to exercise utmost restraint and engage in a constructive dialogue to seek a peaceful and inclusive solution in the interests of the people of Myanmar. ASEAN member states discussed on how to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian assistance in Myanmar to those most in need based on the principle of humanity, neutrality, and impartiality. My colleagues reiterate their support for my appointment as the Special Envoy of the ASEAN Chair on Myanmar, and together called on Myanmar Authority to facilitate the mission of the Special Envoy to move forward the implementation of the 5-point consensus. The Foreign Minister reaffirmed their commitment and readiness to help Myanmar on the basis of the 5-point consensus and the ASEAN Charter. And that with an understanding, I should underline that this was repeated again to Senior General Min Aung Hlaing during his visit to Naypyidaw and during his conversation online with the General last month, that durable peace and national reconciliation can be achieved only through a political solution that is Myanmar-owned and Myanmar-led, with the participation of all parties concerned. This is what we have achieved during this morning meeting. We have discussed in length about many other topics, but I will spare you with all the details. Right now, I'm now open for some of your questions. So, Jing, let's know. Chat.
បាទសូមគោរពជំរាបសួរអាដាមអបនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីប្រាក់សុខុនខ្ញុំបាទឈ្មោះសេអាដាមមកពីអង្គភាពស្ថានីយទូតព័ត៌មាន BTV សំណួររបស់ខ្ញុំជូនអាដាមអបថាតើកិច្ចប្រជុំចង្អៀតរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការបរទេសអាស៊ានដែលធ្វើរយៈពេល2ថ្ងៃនេះកត្តានៃបញ្ហានិងប្រធានបទសំខាន់អ្វីខ្លះដែលខ្ញុំបានស្ដាប់ត្រួសមុននេះមានទាំងបញ្ហាមីយ៉ាន់ម៉ាមានទាំងការស្ដារនៃសេដ្ឋកិច្ចតើបញ្ហាចម្បងអ្វីខ្លះដែលបានជជែកគ្នាក្នុងកិច្ចប្រជុំរយៈពេលផ្សេងមិញនៅថ្ងៃនេះហើយមានអ្វីជាផ្លែផ្កាដែលរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការបរទេសអាស៊ានបានឯកភាពព្រមគ្នានៅក្នុងកិច្ចប្រជុំនេះសូមគោរពអរគុណអាដាម
ខ្ញុំទៅបានជំរាបជូនប៉ុណ្ណេះគ្រាន់តែថាមិញលើកជូនជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសអញ្ចឹងអ្វីដែលយើងបានជជែកគ្នាហ្នឹងវាមានការងារច្រើនដែរហើយខ្ញុំគិតថាអ្វីដែលរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការបរទេសបានផ្ដោតជាសំខាន់ទៅលើគេទាំងអស់គឺការស្ដារសេដ្ឋកិច្ចឡើងវិញក្រោយ COVID-19 នេះជាចំណុចសំខាន់ហើយដោយហេតុនេះហើយរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីការបរទេសបានលើកច្រើននិយាយច្រើនអំពីភាពចាំបាច់នៅក្នុងការជំរុញការអនុវត្តនៅក្របខ័ណ្ឌស្ដារឡើងវិញខាងផ្នែកសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់អាស៊ានហើយមានការលើកឡើងអំពីការជំរុញធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចឲ្យបើកការចរាចរណ៍នៅផ្ទៃក្នុងអាស៊ាននៅក្នុងក្រមក្របខ័ណ្ឌដែលយើងហៅថា ASEAN Travel Corridor Arrangement ការក្របខ័ណ្ឌនៃការរៀបចំការធ្វើដំណើរឡើងវិញនៅក្នុងផ្ទៃក្នុងរបស់អាស៊ាននេះគឺដើម្បីធ្វើយ៉ាងណាឲ្យជំរុញសេដ្ឋកិច្ចឲ្យរស់ឡើងវិញ